It's time for the weekly Cover Price Top 10 list. Some brand new books and some books from completely out of nowhere. Let's take a look at the list up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Check out the description of this video for links to my eBay store as well as my email. And then there's also my Whatnot and my Instagram. We do Whatnot sales every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So Covrprice is a comic book pricing service that scours the internet, eBay mostly, and Heritage and what have you for comic book sales, both graded and raw, which makes it different than the other major grading services, Go Collect and GP Analysis, that only do graded sales. So it does have that benefit. And what it does weekly, it tracks the comics that have sold the most units in the aftermarket and comes up with a top 10 list. So we're going to take a look at those books that made the top 10. So let's dive into it. Let's start at number 10 on the list with issue number 10 of Wolverine from 1989. This is the first comic book battle between Sabretooth and Wolverine, predating those Uncanny X-Men books. And minor significance is also first appearance of the Silver Fox. Remember, initially, Sabretooth was an adversary of Iron Fist, premiering in issue 14 of his series. But as we got into the late 80s and in the 90s, he became the adversary for Wolverine. And we've seen that play out in the films. And we're going to see it play out again. The trailer, which I don't think the trailer gave us enough time for the aftermarket to adjust. We're going to see, I think, a lot of effects from that latest trailer in next week's list. And that should be kind of interesting to see what pops. But yeah, this book is a book that, you know, you kind of have to pay about 30 some odd dollars for a high grade book, about 150 for a 9.8. And there are others. There's the newsstand's a little more expensive. The newsstand, which is out there, but if you're fortunate to get a 9.8, that's about double at $300. And that's not unusual for newsstands from the late 80s. Let's take a look at the 9.8 sales of this book. And we can see it had a big jump here for some reason in 2013. Slow climb over time, jump during the boom, and it settled down a little bit, but has been pretty consistent. Again, in probably that $100 to $160 range. The most recent auction went for $106. Auctions are going to go for a little bit less because there are enough of these out there. There are 4,409 universal graded, 1,280 of those in a 9.8 and two 9.9s. And as I said, you have the newsstand, and they don't have any sales of record, at least in 9.8s of the Marvel Legends toy reprint. Let's go to number 9, and this book stays on the list. Doom #1. This giant size one shot from now a month and a half ago, but we can see it's cooled down near mint sales in the $30, $40 range. And now we're getting graded books back, even as low as 9.0, under $100. And let's take a look at how that has been tracking. Last week, I think, there were 99 Universal 79 9/8. And if we update now, 111 Universal and 89 9/8. And the value, we do have some sales of fixed sales are about 120 and an auction here for 127, but we see now the auctions are getting closer to the $80 mark. And as more books, I don't think this number is going to stay at 111 for long. Let's move on to number 8, Detective Comics, number 1086, excuse me, the Sebastian Fiumara 1 in 25. It's the first appearance of Shadow Angel. And here we have, Wolverine, Doom, What a cover and what a new character the book introduces. Shadow Angel, a recognized agent of chaos. Sound familiar? One of the most popular villains of all time, the Joker, is also an agent of chaos. Over the years, he's brought out the best in Batman, and fans hope Shadow Angel can do even a modicum of that. If the connection couldn't be clearer, Fiamore lit up the way with this 1 in 25 ratio variant. We tracked 22 copies sold, et cetera, et cetera. You're not going to see a slab copy because this book just came out last week. Let's go to number 7, and it is The Boys, number 1. We're in the midst of the brand new season 4 of The Boys, which evidently is going to be the penultimate season. This was a DC Wildstorm book back in the day before they went to, it was, where did The Boys eventually go? Anyway, it doesn't really matter that much. 6 issues of DC Wildstorm. And this book, you want a high-grade copy, it's going to cost you about $100. You want a 9.8, it's going to be about $350 and maybe a little bit more. And if we look at the history, this is a book, it's kind of like option, announcement, new season, ups and downs, but it has been trending up over time. If we look just prior to the boom, let's say, the end of 2019, well, it was at about $400. So it is, it dipped and came up and dipped and came up. The problem with this, much like Walking Dead, it's not nearly as hard to find as Walking Dead, but much like Walking Dead, once the show is over, and I know there'll be probably continued spinoffs, the value may go down a little bit. There are 2,180 universal copies and 922, 42% of those in a 9.8, which is kind of remarkable for a black cover, even though the book is from 2006. And so that's number 7 on the list. It's The Boys season, so the IP is currently dominating the online space. So far, it's been another well-received season, one that is sparking even more discussion than it did previously. That's hard to imagine, but the political commentary the show is known for was cranked up a notch. Thus, the dialogue surrounding the series has as well. It was also recently announced that there is a hard exit for the series, which will conclude with season 5. We're in season 4 right now. There's a ton of material left to cover and opportunities to do more with the series once the main series ends. It becomes one of the most recognizable IPs out there, with fans routinely opting to revisit the book that started it all and add it to the PC. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 is Blood Hunt number 4, the Red Band edition. And Dracula, Blade, and Doctor Strange, Iron Man being buried alive. This is the Betsy Cola 1 in 25 Tales from the Crypt number 28 homage, which is this EC cover. Guy buried alive and just got the 3 heads and somebody walking away. Here we have Blade walking away. And Iron Man with his armor above ground being buried alive. That looks like fun. These books, $50, $70, $86, high grade. People are jumping into this series. The word of mouth I've received has been a little bit mixed. I haven't had the opportunity to read it myself. Another Blood Hunt Golden Age homage, another hot aftermarket book. These Blood Hunt variants have been seeing astronomical aftermarket pricing as fans continue to secure copies any chance they get. Marvel's doing something out of the ordinary for them, and so far it's been all love from the fan base. Receiving variant homage covers like this one from Betsy Cola is just the icing on the cake. Now, I have to think that issue number 1, the Crime Suspense Stories homage, surprised people. So I have to think by this time, a lot more folks put it on their FOC to get these Blood Hunt homage covers, knowing that they're well liked there, and you're going to be able to sell them. I think the markup that they'll get is going to diminish as the series goes on, just because people were forewarned. Let's go to number 5. And number 5 is Action Comics 1066. This Lobo cover. It looks like, is that the Hulk? That does not, I don't know who that is. Anyway, this is the Mark Spears 1 in 25 variant. And look at this. Cover A is actually $6, which is a lot for a Action Comics book. 50 some odd bucks for a high grade book. And it just came out last week, so you're not going to see slabs of it. If you've seen this list over the years, Lobo is pretty popular. Release a cover like this book from Mark Spears, and the aftermarket speaks for itself. It's hard to put your finger on what makes it such a killer cover. It's just so Lobo. Fans said, yes, please, and secured some copies in the aftermarket for those who missed out of the LCS or had an LCS that didn't hit the ratio to acquire it. Okay. Again, it's a cool cover. What will the long-term value be? I don't know. Let's move on to number 4. And this perplexes me. Superman New 52, number 32. Is this his new costume? Oh, his first appearance of Mr. Oz? Not Dr. Oz, but Mr. Oz. Not the Wizard of Oz. Not Ozzie Smith, but Mr. Oz. A $5 book? I don't know. Certainly a book you can find in dollar bins. Why is it making the list? We're in speculation season now. James Gunn is taking on an incredible challenge by bringing yet another Superman depiction to modern audiences. It's a risk, but there's a ton of excitement regarding the decision and the direction he's heading, being an early project from the new DCU. The Superman film is already being worked on. Set leaks and photos have been dotting the internet already. Whenever that happens, internet sleuths dissect images like their lives depend on it. Shout out to those folks. Due to the sleuthing, speculation is brewing online that a certain Mr. Oz was spotted in set photos. There's also conflicting speculation that Ultraman was spotted in the BTS photos. Some fans decided to heck with it and secure the first appearance of Mr. Oz to be safe. I wouldn't pay up for this. I mean, I don't even know if I'd pay $5 for this book. I probably have it in my collection. Probably got it when it came out, and which meant I paid $5 for it. And this list gets a little more mystifying and a little more obscure as we go on to number 3. And number 3 is Negative Burn number 7, an Image comic from 2006. It's the first appearance of John Prufrock, a Sasquatch from writer Alex Grecian and artist Riley Rosmo's series Proof. High grade book, okay, $30. I'm going to go back to the Superman. Look at the Superman book. There are 72 on the census, 63 9/8. What do they sell for? 40 or $50, just about case cost. Negative Burn, a little bit older. There are 8 books on the census, 5 of them 9/8. None of them have sold. A $15 9/6 sold 9 years ago. So the Negative Burn book, when a series gets option, there's often ancillary books that also get attention. This book falls in line, as it's the first appearance of John Prufrock, a Sasquatch from the series Proof. Considering these books were previously incredibly cheap, it was easy to snag for numerous collectors last week, rocketing up the charts to take a spot on the top 10. FOMO. Again, this is maybe a $5 book. I don't see it, I mean, could it be could this John Prufrock be the next big thing? Maybe. And then this book will be $1,000. So, because there can't be a ton of them out there, so we'll see. I'm just going to move on to number 2 because I don't have much more to say about this book. I don't really have any information on it. Number 2 is Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu 0, the Alessandro Cappuccio secret 1 per store. These secret 1 per stores are very popular because each store gets one and people want one. So the stores usually keep them and put them up for sale on the aftermarket. $60 to acquire this book. And it's actually in pre-release. It's coming out today. So yeah, if you see this secret 1 per store, maybe grab one for $60. I don't know. Well, if you grab it for $60, you break even if you sell it. Hey, if you really want it, God bless. Rarely do we see pre-sales hitting this list, and rarely do Marvel heroes stay dead for very long. This book bucked one trend and confirmed another. Fans are pumped for Mark Spector's return in this prequel series. Marvel took it a step further and attached a secret variant to the book, causing collectors to zero in on it, as there are very few other variants to attract their attention. That caused a surge in the aftermarket before the book dropped on the 3rd. Okay, obviously, the book isn't even out yet, so there are no 9/8. Let's go to number 1 on the list, and it is Proof. Number 1 from 2007. Not a book I know a lot about, but I mean, look at this. You're going to have to pay over $100 for a high grade raw. Let's look at graded sales. There aren't many of them. There were 15 on the census, 2 9/9s and 10 9/8. And the 9/9 just sold a couple of months ago for $92. There's a best offer accepted 2002. Somebody's trying to get $1,000 for it, but we're unable to do that. And if we look at the 9.8s of this book, if I can, if the website will allow me, there were no sales of a 9.8. So let's look at the explanation here. The book may have dropped in 2007, but they're aiming for the 90s nostalgia if the optioned announcement is any indication. This series received the option treatment in June, marketed as a cross between the X-Files and Men in Black. Thanks to the announcement, the book has been tearing up the aftermarket after being a $2 book for years. Optioned means optioned, means the studio has the rights to use the option to create a movie or a series. We're a far way from the something hitting the screens. So again, this is a good book though to be aware of. It's probably in dollar bins all over the place because up until last week, nobody cared. Let's take a look at the runners up, and there are some interesting ones on here. Authority, number 1, comes in at number 11. We know we're getting the Engineer, but there are folks who are thinking we're getting the rest of the Authority in the Superman film. Toxic Avenger jumps in at number 12. And the news, they came out that the movie starring Peter Dinklage came out at Fantastic Film Festival last year, and we haven't heard anything updated about it. So a movie version of the action figure, the Toxic Avenger. I don't know. This is, a book that does have some value, and is over $100 in 9.8. You can also get a newsstand. Number 13, we talked about this last week, Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime. The J. Scott Campbell, 1 in 50. J. Scott Campbell, usually known for drawing attractive females. Uncle Scrooge is not an attractive female. Yeah, people are kind of interested in this book, paying what, $90, $70 for this. That's kind of interesting. I did pick up a copy of this for Covrprice at the LCS just to kind of, have it and maybe give it a read. It kind of harkens back to the old Carl Barks stories. And Carl Barks wrote some great stories, great self-contained stories. And Jason Aaron is the writer. He did give, props to Carl Barks and also Don Rosa and, the history of the Duck characters and their adventures, more than just funny animal stuff. Barks did some fun stories. Number 14, New Mutants. Number 87, the first appearance of Cable. Are we going to see Cable in Deadpool Wolverine? Remains to be seen. Remains a hot book. Godzilla number 1, the 2024 facsimile. This is a 1 in 25. Is this a facsimile of the 70s Godzilla one? That's interesting. Godzilla has been a hot property ever since -1 came out. It's now on Netflix. If you haven't, check it out. Gromit's number 2. The first issue made the list last month, and then this one is still up there. Department of Truth, the Sebastian Fiumara variant. Series took a hiatus back in November 22. While many question whether the series will continue, others anticipated the next issue's release. Those longing were rewarded last week after a year and a half. The next issue of Department of Truth was released. Number 18, the Gabriel Del Otto 1 in 10 Uncle Scrooge book. Number 19, whose legs do we see? Do we have a Lady Deadpool? And is it Blake Lively? Is it Taylor Swift? Good question. This is, a hot book leading into the movie. And then at number 20, Zatanna, Bring Down the House, number 1, the Mikkel Janin, 1 in 50. Zatanna, very popular. I would be shocked if we don't see her if we don't see her in chapter 1 of the DCU with James Gunn. Just one of your more popular female characters. And it'd be interesting to see how they cast her. Are they going to cast her as Romani? That would be interesting. So anyway, that is the top 20 books for the week. So what do you think of those Covrprice top 10 and top 20 books? Do you have any of them, and do you want any of them? One thing is, if you want them, now may not be the best time to go get them. If they come to you, if you find them, it's one thing. But if you're going to go like on eBay, most sellers on eBay see this list, and those that didn't, there were buyers that did and bought the cheaper copies. So I'm pretty sure it's hard to get an inexpensive copy on eBay right now. At any rate, I'd like to thank y'all for stopping by. You can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.